my god, I'm gonna lose so many viewers with this review. Repossessed. Hey guys, welcome to Priceless B Movies. So, I gotta come out and give kind of a horror movie confession before I get into this film. And that's that, even though it's considered a classic, I think The Exorcist is one of the worst horror films ever made. For all of my life, I've taken a lot of crap for that. But here's the thing. Everyone always tells me, well, if you were around in the 70s, you're too young to know why that's scary. If you were around in the 70s, you would get what is so terrifying about that. You would understand it. Now, my logical and honest response to this is, you know what? The first time I saw The Exorcist, I had an older sister who loved the movie, and she watched it all the time. The first time I saw that movie, I couldn't have been any older than 10 years old. And by that point, I had seen scary movies. I had seen movies that I thought were very scary. The Exorcist had me laughing so hard. Sorry guys, if you really love that movie, you love that movie, and that's great. But I'm not scared by a girl vomiting pea soup on a priest. I think that's hilarious. I'm not scared by a little girl masturbating with a crucifix. I think there's far worse things in terms of pornography that you can find at the click of a button on the internet these days. And as soon as Linda Blair's character has those scars and comes out with that James Bond villain voice, I cannot stop laughing. The Exorcist is one of the funniest movies of all time. And it was only a matter of time before someone made a comedy out of the idea behind The Exorcist. So Repossessed is a kind of parody of the Exorcist films, particularly the first one, and stars Leslie Nielsen. If you don't know who that is, God help you. I'm not even going to explain to you who Leslie Nielsen is if you don't know. So Leslie Nielsen in this movie plays a priest who, back in the 70s, successfully drove a demonic spirit from a little girl. And now that this little girl is older, and yes, is actually played by Linda Blair, she becomes possessed again through, I shit you not, her television. And now Leslie Nielsen, in his old age and with a bad heart, has to figure out if he wants to come in and assist and oversee this exorcism several years after he had previously saved this girl. What's interesting to me is that if that storyline was taken seriously, I actually probably would have liked The Exorcist a lot more. If that storyline, of a priest previously rescuing a girl and then having to do it again, in their old age, to me that's actually more interesting than the concept of the original Exorcist. Obviously, in staying true to being a parody of The Exorcist, Leslie Nielsen is clearly the old priest. The young priest is played by Anthony Stark. And, he's so-so. He has some good laughs, but a lot of the humor that comes from his scenes just comes from his reactions. He's really the observer. He's kind of the audience's eye in this film. And it works, and his scenes are good. But ultimately, Leslie Nielsen kind of carries the movie in terms of comedy. Speaking of the comedy, too, hats off to Linda Blair. She is great in this movie. It's wonderful to me that she was so willing to show up in this film and kind of poke fun at the role that made her famous. And, when she's got the demon makeup on and she's doing the voice and she's running around just with these comedic shenanigans, it is so entertaining. It's like the high points of the movie revolve around her interactions with everyone else and just the complete lack of respect she has for everyone. In the original Exorcist, the demon was at least meant to be terrifying and to taunt everyone around it. In this movie, they do the same thing, but being a parody, the taunts are extremely childish. It's more like, yeah, well, bite my ass, than it is, your mother sucks in hell. We do also have a pretty entertaining subplot in this, involving a televangelist played by Ned Beatty. Just this complete moron, and his ministry is losing money because he's so inept. And he and his really ditzy blonde wife and her pet, which has to be the most annoying dog in the history of film, decide that they want to take the exorcism. They don't quite believe that Linda Blair's possessed. They think it's an angle, and they want to play on that. And Ned Beatty gets this wonderful idea that if they televise this exorcism, which they think is a hoax anyway, then they'll get more people to give them money. Or as Ned Beatty puts it, we'll get more people close to God. Anybody with an IQ, that's higher than double digits is going to look at this movie and think it's ridiculous. I love this movie, though. I think this is a really funny movie. This is certainly one of the better parodies that Leslie Nielsen was involved in, with the exception of The Naked Guns, because those are wonderful. But, Leslie Nielsen's been in a lot of parodies. I think if you take Airplane and The Naked Gun aside, a lot of the parodies that Leslie Nielsen was in were kind of hit and miss. This is one that a lot of critics will tell you is a miss, but I think that was just because a lot of people were kind of mad that a film was making fun of The Exorcist. The Exorcist, even though I don't understand why it has all the hype it does, I do understand that it does have the hype, that it is considered by a lot of people to be one of the scariest movies of all time. So I can understand the hate there. I can understand the hate. People are going to make fun of what's considered a classic film. There's automatically going to be people who don't like it. But I thought this movie was very funny. It's stupid funny, but it's funny. So Repossessed gets 3 stars from me. This is a really funny movie, but if you are such a super fan of The Exorcist, you'll probably hate the movie on principle. You will probably hate this on principle. I think it's hilarious, but then again, that's because I think The Exorcist is hilarious. Some of the sequels are actually better. I think the third Exorcist movie is infinitely creepier than the first one. And I think that the first Exorcist movie is kind of right for parody. But that's me, and I know I'm in the minority there. So that's my review of Repossessed. This was another film that was sent to me as a request, and I was happy to do it. This is a movie that I've loved for the last several years, and that I hope more people are able to gain access to. I think the DVD might be out of print by now, but I'm sure you can find it on Amazon Prime or in any number of downloading sites. And if you do find it on Amazon Prime, it is definitely worth whatever they're going to charge for you to watch it. This is a really funny movie, but you do got to turn your brain and maturity level down to about where it was when you were 12 years old, or you will think that some of this is pretty dumb. As always, if there's a movie that you can think of that is underrated, that you think not a lot of people do reviews of, that you think not a lot of people talk about, and you want to hear my opinion on it, please let me know. Let me know in the comments section, and I'll see what I can do about getting a copy of it, checking it out, and putting a review up for you. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Priceless B movies.